Salutations and Happy New Year, my beautiful nerds. I hope you had a nice Christmas, Hanukkah, or whatever your holiday denominal or non-denominal of choice was. Me? I was in my mom's basement for the entirety of the holidays, subsiding on a diet of Dr. Pepper and leftover turkey and ham sandwiches, and trying not to end up like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining. Cause our boiler broke, and we have no heat, in the dead of an Irish winter.
Oh God, you wouldn't belong getting frostbite.
But aside from whiskey and fire, I've taken to warming myself by reminiscing on the past year. I mean, despite the constant weirdness that was 2021, some really cool stuff came out, and I barely even covered most of it. Which is weird because I played a lot of games in 2021, so I thought why not take a moment, or in my case several, to talk about 5. Why 5? Well, 10 seemed like a lot of work and I'm lazy, plus 5 seems way easier. Hey guys, future Kevin here. Past Kevin is a dumbass bitch and underestimated how much work actually needed to go into a top 5 list. Needless to say, it wasn't easy, like at all, and you should tell him he's a dick for ruining my life.
I hate you so much!
Now, total disclosure guys, there are a few titles from the year just gone that I will have full videos on, or I haven't really had a chance to play yet. So this is less a top 5 and more like 5 things I didn't get a chance to talk about in 2021, but I really want to, so here they are. Now, the only reason the video's not called that is because it's wordy and lame, and it's probably not what the YouTube overlords want. So, top 5 it is, baby! I'm so sorry that happened. Let's just get on with the list.
Boo! You stink!
Okay, I know. Pokemon Shining Pearl is a bit of a weird pick for a best of list, and I'm fully aware of its issues. The art style is super simplistic, bordering on almost amateurish. It's probably the only Pokemon remake to not add any series advancements like Mega Evolution or Super Training. Its commitment to preserving the original game is a little extreme, and if like me you got Pearl, it looks like the penis-headed dragon on the front that controls space just walked into a table and is really upset about it.
Oh God, my fucking knee! That's my knee! Damn it! Shit!
Heck, when I first saw it revealed, even I thought it was going to be a bit lackluster. But after I traded in some games that I genuinely hated playing, and got this instead, I realized that a straight one-to-one remake of Pokemon Pearl is still Pokemon Pearl. One of the best games in the series, and one of the best-selling games on the DS. Now you may wonder, why wouldn't you just play the original? Well, there are a few reasons. 1, you will be bullied for playing a DS and being old enough to have one by TikTok kids. 2, the original release was glacially slow. And 3, if you didn't hold on to a copy of Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum, you may be surprised at how much they cost now. In fact, let's do a quick Google search. Oh my god, €110 for Pokemon Platinum? Get fucked, CEX! It's not just that you can now afford a copy of Gen 4 Pokemon without having to sell blood. There are additions to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that make it worth the time. The changes to the underground with the mini wild areas and the variety of Pokemon there make the experience a bit more balanced. The changes to HMs mean you no longer need 2 Bidoofs just to progress through the game. Red in this park allows you to catch a wide variety of legendary Pokemon, and the additions of Darkrai and the Shaman events built into the game, rather than being a weird event you had to line up for at GameStop and wonder if other Pokemon fans have heard of Deodorant or if you're the odd one out. Just make it the definitive way to play the game. Sure, it is just the game that came out in 2006 with a fancy coat of paint on the Switch, but fans have been demanding for a remake of these games for years, and for good reason. Diamond and Pearl added to the mythos of the series with literal gods that commanded time and space, while reigniting the series' dwindling perception after Sapphire and Ruby underperformed. And if nothing else, this game has Cynthia's theme and Spear Pillar, which are worth the price of admission. Listen to these bangers. I know Forza Horizon 5 came out this year, and I'm sure anything good about 4 is either still intact or improved there. But here's the thing, I never had an Xbox One, and Forza Horizon 4 finally came to Steam in 2021, so it's technically a 2021 release. And I know what you're thinking, but Kevin, you handsome and sexy goof, Forza Horizon 5 had a same day Steam release, so you could have played it there. First off, I love you too, famed cosplayer Reagan Carthy, and you're right. Here's the twist though. Forza Horizon 4 was in the Steam summer sale with a ton of DLC for the same price as the base game of Horizon 5. Now I'm no money man, but even my chimp brain sees more stuff for same price equal good. That, and while trying to record the footage for 4, I apparently kept running out of VRAM. And if that's the case, then I can only imagine the current release would liquefy my PC while everyone laughed. Now, a racing game may seem weird for me as my bread and butter is JRPGs, depression, and superhero games, none of which feature cars. But for those of you who know me personally, you'll know my dad was 1, a major car guy, and 2, a Bond fan, and that by growing up on a steady diet of both of those as a child, so am I. Forza Horizon 4 has become something of a zen game for me. It's kinda nice to get home after a hard day's work and go for a leisurely cruise around the English countryside in cars so expensive, I'm pretty sure you have to pay to be in the same zip code as them. Not only that, but the sheer amount of stuff to do in Forza Horizon 4 is staggering. Drag races, rallycross, circuit racing, and the special events which have you racing planes, trains, hovercrafts, and the Covenant from Halo? You really do get a lot of bang for your buck, and that's not even mentioning the 2 other locations which added more collectibles, cars, and races, one of which is all Lego based, and is the cutest thing I've seen outside of fennec foxes and otters when they hold their little hands. Oh, my heart, it hurts so good! If you have even a passing interest in arcade racing games, you owe it to yourself to check out Forza Horizon, like any of them. The only downside I can think of is the announcers are like the most irritating people in the world, and it feels like all they do is Prozac, or whatever drugs they feed Disney employees, which is weird given that the game takes place in the UK, which is known for being sad, and depressing, and wet. Okay, I know this is cheating, again, but let me explain. As you know, I have a PS5. That's not me bragging. I was damn lucky to have gotten one, but I got it in February 2021, not at launch, so I could only play this game in 2021. More importantly, more people should be talking about Astro's Playroom. Bundled with every PS5 as a pre-installed game, you could be forgiven for thinking this is just an afterthought tech demo. Since the PS4, whenever Sony introduced a new piece of kit, they released an Astrobot game to show it off. But the PS5 has really solidified the series. Not only does it show off the improvements of the PS5, but it also feels like a celebration of every era of PlayStation, from characters to even add-ons, and there are some real deep cuts there. Oh, so that's where I left my Vita. But Astro has more than just nostalgia and references to keep it alive. The entire experience is wrapped up in one of the most addictive and fun platformers I've played for quite some time. Sure, it's not as long or as packed full of things as something like Super Mario 3D World, but when I was playing that, all I could think of was, man, I wish I was playing Astro. Truthfully, the smaller scale of Astro allows it to be more memorable, and the 4 levels within it are awarded more variety and personality than a lot of other platformers which regularly have to recycle settings and assets. Astro just oozes charm and style, from the thick brush of GPU jungle, the futuristic city of SSD Speedway, the cloudy fields of Memory Meadows, and the calmness of Cooling Springs. Astro just kept me coming back for more. Hell, the first time I tried to capture this footage, it was corrupted, so I had to play through the game again for the 6th time this year. If that doesn't speak to the quality of the game, I don't know what does. If you get lucky enough to finally snag a PS5 this year, you owe it to yourself to try Astro's Playroom. Sure, it's not the longest or most complex game, but like a delicious can of Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop. Okay, that was really dumb and forced. Why do I write these scripts before lunch when I'm hungry? Not cheating on this one. Ghost of Tsushima was released in 2020, but the Iki Island DLC was a 2021 release. So suck it, salty commenters. Now, if you're a regular here, you'll know that I love Ghost of Tsushima. So when I found out that it was getting additional story content with a new map and expanding the gameplay I adore, you can imagine my excitement.
Oh God. Oh, yes, yes.
But does it hold a candle to the base game? Iki Island isn't a whole new game, but it's a really nice companion piece. Available upon entering Act 2 of the base game, the campaign sees Jin travelling to Iki, an island being overrun with strange Mongols, led by a mysterious religious leader who uses strange hallucinogenics to warp the minds of her victims, which sadly includes Jin. Couple that with the retcon that the island is where Jin's dad died, and because of his occupation they hate samurai, and you're off to a not-so-flying start. The interesting thing is Iki is much less about liberating liberating the island, and much more about Jin's guilt in confronting his past with his father. Maybe it's just because I lost my dad not too long ago, but there's something kind of therapeutic about the whole thing that I really appreciated. Now that's not to say I wanted to confront my dad over potential war crimes he committed. He didn't commit any, unless you consider eating all my ice cream a breach of the Geneva Convention. But it's a moment of closure and reassurance for Jin that I really appreciated. The new island of Iki feels like a microcosm of Tsushima, but it's not afraid to do its own thing, adding new minigames, platforming challenges, and fleshing out more of Jin's past. While many reviewers at release bemoaned that Iki Islands was just more of Ghost of Tsushima, to me that was a gold seal of approval. Iki Islands is definitely more than a simple extra area and items. It elevates itself to the status of other DLC greats like Red Dead Nightmare and Harley's Revenge, expanding on the base game and potentially teasing the future progression of the series. It's especially staggering when you consider Sucker Punch doesn't make DLC like this at all. The only other instance I could think of was Infamous First Light, which but honestly, Iki is on a whole other level and is the type of DLC I want to see more of, and it seems to be a standard the devs want to maintain too. Heck, they even take a dig at lazier DLCs by including all this content and horse armor that actually does something. Like, that's a jab at Bethesda, right? I'm not crazy. No? Just me? Ugh. Finally, a game that came out in 2021, like legitimately. If you follow me on Twitter, and let's face it, you should, at Kev_G_ENE, you may have noticed at the start of December, I became obsessed with Tales of Arise. For those not in the know, this is the latest entry in a long-running JRPG series known as the Tales series. You'd be forgiven for not knowing them, as they're the third most popular JRPG franchise behind Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Now, I'm not saying the series is bad, I mean getting bronze in a race with these titans is still pretty good. I've played a whole one of them, and they are super good. But for the last decade, they've been a little samey, and Tales of Arise was very much a push by Bandai Namco to shake the series up, and they very much succeeded. But why do I like it? Is it the S-tier waifu? The fact that the MC is basically cosplaying Guts from Berserk, a manga I've been ridiculously obsessed with over the last year for 90% of the game? Or the combat that feels more like a character action game than a traditional JRPG? Well, it's all of that really. Tales of Arise combines the grand scale of a Dragon Quest with the more intimate feel of a Final Fantasy, while also drawing from a lot of sources: Berserk, FF7, Star Wars, Code Geass, and The Man in the Iron Mask, to name a few. However, despite that, it very much has its own identity. It's a game about loss, hardship, finding something to rally behind when everything else is taken away, and the characters you control all feel fleshed out and fully realized. It's a journey you want to undertake because you want them to succeed. The world of Dana is truly memorable, with each kingdom being super unique, both visually and in terms of character. The combat is more fast-paced and makes you feel empowered. The better bosses or hunting missions can feel like those epic MMO raid bosses, but you know, with combat that doesn't feel like the equivalent of taking a crowded elevator where someone's just ripped a massive fart. To put it simply, Tales of Arise feels like an old school JRPG I grew up with, in a fully modernized form, and I didn't want to stop playing it. The story naturally ramped up with the gameplay to create something that I can only describe as epic. At the start, you're rebelling against one dickhead lord with a rusty sword, barely doing any damage, and by the end, dragons, dinosaurs, and legally distinct Dark Souls enemies quiver in fear at the sight of you. And when you can do attacks like this, who could blame them? I know I haven't really talked about the narrative that much, and I'm being very vague about the game in general, but I went in almost completely blind, and I was all the better for it. If, like me, you've been looking for a game that feels the Kingdom Hearts 2 combat void, then I think you're in for a real treat with Tales of Arise. And if nothing else, it was the only game this year that had Kisara in it. So, 10 out of 10.
Excuse me? Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry.
So there we go. 5 games or things I loved in 2021. I mean, if I'm being honest, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is my game of the year, but I did a 13-minute video on that, so maybe watch it. And like I said, there are some other games I just didn't get a chance to play, or I was playing while I wrote this script. Like, I just started Ys Monstrum Nox, and I have no idea if it's good or not. You'll have to ask future Kevin.
It's fucking awesome, and I still hate you, past Kevin.
Well, that's great. Or terrible. I have no idea, because I was pre-recorded weeks ago. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Happy New Year. And hey, what were your favorite games of 2021? Do you want to see a video on any of the games I mentioned here? Let me know in the comments, and like or dislike depending on how you feel about the content you've seen here today. Subscribe and hit that bell to stay up to date on uploads, and do seriously check me out on Twitter to see what I'm up to, what I'm playing, and maybe even some sneak peeks on future projects. Stay classy, and see you in the next one, guys. guys.